guys, so Sara Claro here, and so I was thinking, at about 2008, May 16th to be exact, I gracefully survived a subarachnoid brain hemorrhage. And today I wanted to talk about it with you because it came up when I was talking with a friend whose sister had had a traumatic event. And I remember that when I was recovering from that, and I became very curious and I wanted to talk to other people who might be experiencing similar things. It was hard to find any support or testimonies about their recovery or their improvements thereafter. So my biggest problem after my brain hemorrhage was my short-term memory is what was affected. And so I was going to therapy 3 times a week for about half an hour. They were short sessions, and I was learning how to capture new information again. And that was completely invaluable. I still put into practice today the things that I learned there. And so long as I practice those techniques that I learned, the information that I am able to attain is like no one can tell me any different. I see pictures in my head and the captures are very, very strong. So that was amazing. However, throughout the process, I was still getting headaches, which was foreign for me. I was a pretty even-keeled person. And I was also experiencing a lot of anxiety to the point that I could see my heart beating through my chest. And that was very foreign and a very unpleasant feeling for me. And so what I think was happening to me was that as my brain on a cognitive level was understanding that, like, let's say I was fine, but I was trying to attain all of these new informations or new roles that I needed to play in my life. If I had stopped maybe something like my son wasn't doing this type of schooling, and then he was like doing homeschooling, and so I had new things that I had to learn. That all triggered me into anxiety. If I had a lot of people over and I had to attend a lot of guests, that would trigger a lot of anxiety in me as well, and then I would end up with a headache, for instance. But anyways, as I continued to do my therapy sessions in therapy, that helped. But what really made the biggest difference was that when I started homeschooling my son, we were doing a lot of memory work in song. And I was learning songs that are similar to, you could compare them to like We Didn't Start the Fire from Billy Joel. So they had a lot of variety and they really made me think. However, because it was music, it was firing up both hemispheres of my brain. And much like the rubber tree that sends out a root shoot from the top to the ground and it becomes strong like bark, so too were the new connections in my brain, overriding and bypassing the damage that had been done. And I found that as that continued to occur, the anxiety that I was feeling in my chest started to subside. And I was able to take on more responsibilities and more activities and layer them on without going into a full-blown headache. And that was very important for me. I wanted to be able to do all of those things again without it being an issue for me. And it was hard for me to find any support or people that I could look to their stories and see myself reflected in them or the challenges and the struggles. At a face value, you would have never known that I was struggling with anything because it didn't show through. I looked completely fine. You asked me questions, I answered them, all my old memories were intact. But I was struggling with all of these new exercises and new responsibilities that I needed to tag on and build upon. So I hope that it can be helpful. And one thing that actually, when I went to see one neurologist, and I'll go off onto this tangent, I would go and I'd sometimes back to the hospital that saved my life, and I would sit in the waiting room or I would look at things. It was in an effort to try and remember. And when I expressed these things to a neurologist who I went to see, he put it into words for me. He said, the patient is feeling a sense of loss for the time that she can't remember. And that helped me very much. So I hope that this video can help you. And if you have any questions or concerns or just want someone to talk to, feel free to reach out and put it in the comments below. And I'll answer back as soon as I see them. Take care. So here are those root shoots that I was talking about in my video earlier, and you can see how they're soft and pliable, and the tree sends them down from the very top, and then it sends them down to the ground like this, and they attach and get really strong, and they become bark like that one there.